The internet has provided consumers the tools to modify the products they once passively consumed in the 21st century. Lecitch defines this as a remix culture. This is in contrast to the 20th century, where consumers were dormant to the products they purchased from the commercial industry due to restrictions of analog technology, like the television and radio, for example. The arrival of Web 2.0 has changed this, however, enabling a culture of consumer participation where pre-existing media from the commercial industry is remixed and shared online. But this remixing has brought complications to the hybrid economy, all because of one thing: copyright. Its function is to protect and thus incentivize creative works, as copyright affords creators the right to exploit their creations, not the remixers. Once a work is fixed into a tangible medium that is written onto a piece of paper or captured through a photograph, it gives its creator the right to exploit or control its use. This right can last for a lifetime and an additional 70 years, preventing its unrestricted use. But the internet has made copyright irrelevant, causing the commercial industry a major issue. As content is now produced digitally, it has made intellectual property much easier to share than before. This has resulted in substantial losses, notably for the music and film industry. The BPI and American Motion Picture Association described this sharing as piracy, as they heavily rely on the revenues regularly lost to file sharing. But not all consumers are exploiting copyrighted content in this way. Some are using it to enrich the communities that are developed because of it. The subculture of fandom is built around franchises from Harry Potter to Star Wars, where fans produce their variations of the source material, publishing it online for others to read. Fish, however, argues that these fans don't engage in fandom to take advantage of copyright, but to obtain the approval they could not get outside of the community. These fans obtain recognition from the community for their derivative works, which thus increases their self-esteem and also enriches their community. So not all consumers, it would appear, engage in copyright infringement for subversive purposes, but for creating and sharing new forms of knowledge. As intellectual property holders are often powerless to stop this remixing, they are focused on restricting their customer uses instead. This is done by programming a digital lock into their products, limiting and sometimes preventing it from being used. While the property holders have largely focused on exploiting their customers' appropriation instead. LucasArts granted its fans the opportunity to remix footage from the Star Wars film, but limited its use to their website. The terms of the content's use also stipulated remixes produced by fans would exclusively grant the company a perpetual royalty-free license, which would enable them and not the fans to exploit this labor. So how can consumers create remixes and share them without the constraint of the intellectual property holders? Creative Commons license. Creative Commons works to increase the amount of creativity in public domain by providing non-restrictive licenses to facilitate this innovation. So if we go on the licenses page and we scroll down, we can see the licenses that are available from Creative Commons, such as the Attribution License and the Attribution Share Alike License. These licenses allow other people to adapt your work in both commercial and non-commercial settings as long as credit is given, or the ability for the work to be remixed again. These licenses are the opposite of a copyright, a copyleft if you will. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to make a mashup of the Happy Birthday song, using the free works of others, to bypass the restrictions involved in remixing. So here is my version of the Happy Birthday song.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday
To you.
Happy birthday
To you.
But content such as mine is liable to be misused in the same way. Virgin Mobile was taken to court for using a photo uploaded to Flickr with an attribution license attached, featuring 14-year-old Alison Chang in an advertising campaign. The advertisement contained a photo of Chang with a mocking slogan, "Dump your pen, friend," attached to it. While the author gave away the rights of the picture by attaching a CC license to it, it didn't give Virgin the right to use Chang's license in commercial capacity. So what can be done to prevent this misuse of creative content in the digital age then? How about the old-fashioned way? By politely seeking permission. To legally make a mashup using this video game, for example, for YouTube, we will need to make contact with the rights holders first. Here are a few things will need to be stated, like how many copies will be made and where they will be distributed to. Sometimes the owner of the content may agree to this request, but sometimes they may not. Of course, there's a cost involved, but this helps the content industry. Here you go, mate. Cheers. The approval also comes with maintaining the integrity of the original work, so nothing foolish like this. This culture of permission impedes creativity. Consumers will therefore have to rely on fair use to produce their remixes legally. Fair use allows copyrighted content to be used without asking for permission. Essentially, it is a public interest exception against copyright. This exception can be used for the purposes of critique, comment, report, and research, but its concept is problematic. Universal forced the removal of Stephanie Lenz's 29-second video, which featured her children dancing to Prince's Let's Go Crazy. A court, however, later ruled that this was fair use and specified that the rights holders need to consider if the works used are used in good faith before claiming infringement. And fair use can also result in the suppression of freedom of expression. Game critic Total Biscuit's unfavourable review of Day One Gary's incident was taken down after its publisher issued a copyright claim against the video, using YouTube's copyright filtering system to take it down. And the UK's fair dealing equivalent is even more limited than its American equivalent. British consumers can only use limited extracts of copyrighted content in non-commercial capacities. Lessage suggests these problems can be resolved when both remixers and commercial industries validate one another's respective pursuit. According to Lessage, there needs to be a balance between the consumer's recognition of the commercial industry's desire to profit and the commercial industry's appreciation of consumers remixing their content. It would seem like this is slowly beginning to happen. A lot of companies have become more lenient to remixes recently, particularly Disney. Notoriously protective over its intellectual property, it's relaxed its stance to the appropriation of its Frozen franchise. Companies like Disney have realised remixes are promoting engagement in its brands and thus increasing revenue. Lessage proposes changes to copyright to enable creativity to flourish further. He suggests allowing consumers to use copyright material in non-commercial settings without seeking permission first, and regulating the distribution of content but not the copies themselves. This appears to be materialising as well. The UK has recently revised its copyright law, allowing consumers to now purchase orphan works and use copyright content for parody and prestige, as well as for research and private purposes. And Congress has recently been looking at proposals to amend copyright to lessen its scope from remixing. But the advent of the free stream economy may soon rewrite this issue. Creative works are now regularly released for free by both producers and consumers, as an experiment or as an advertisement. This mode of distribution has only encouraged creativity and innovation. We just need to look at platforms like SoundCloud and Kickstarter to realise this. As the problems around remix and copyright are gradually beginning to be addressed, can this issue truly be resolved to ensure that creativity flows unfettered in the age of remix?